Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with TestDrivenTV. Our 2022 Ford Maverick long-term test vehicles in the garage today, and we're going to be installing vinyl lettering graphics on the tailgate. Now if you want to do tailgate letters on your Maverick, there's a lot of choices out there. There's metal ones, there's plastic ones, there's the pillow style plastic ones, and then there's the vinyl graphics, which is actually a vinyl tape that are pre-cut. And it's just another option out there. All of these different choices I just mentioned are available in a lot of different colors and finishes, from metal to chrome to just flat colors. And I've actually chosen to do a white vinyl on mine because I'm doing a pretty comprehensive graphics package down the road that I want them to key off of. And the vinyl letters are actually the least expensive option. I got these for about $24 on eBay, including shipping. Now you can get them for less, you can get them for more. And they do come pre-cut. Now this is a very easy project to do. Anyone can do it with great results in 20 to 30 minutes with household supplies. And so let's take a walk through right now on how to get it done. Getting ready to start, the instructions were very specific about what we're going to be needing as far as supplies, and that was masking tape, isopropyl alcohol, and a soap and water solution in a spray bottle. Here are the stickers themselves, and you'll note that there is no masking tape, transfer tape on these graphics like a lot of graphics come with, and that's because they fit down inside of an embossed area, and using a sheet of transfer tape would actually complicate matters. So the process of actually laying these in there and being careful with these letters is something we're going to be doing. Also, you want to have a couple of towels, and these towels need to be cleaned not with a dryer sheet. Dryer sheet has compounds that can actually completely take you backwards from all of the cleaning that you have to do in this process. So like any of these projects, it's assumed that you've already cleaned your vehicle before you got started, but we need to take an extra step to actually get rid of any oils, waxes, or other residues. And so that's what the denatured or isopropyl alcohol is for. We want to clean very diligently and get down inside each of these grooves and make sure you run your finger around the entire perimeter of this embossed groove so that you don't miss any areas. If you've already waxed your Maverick, you may know that this is exactly where wax likes to hide, in these little corners. This alcohol does a great job of cutting right through any oils or waxes that you may have on here. This is a sheet of letters that came, and as you can see, they're all on one sheet and they're just sort of laid about. And there's a couple extra pieces on here. There's one here and one here that you can use as a practice piece to see how they stick. Because we don't have transfer tape here, the last thing you want to do is try to get under here and peel these off with your fingernails by getting underneath a corner of one of these letters. That will actually damage the vinyl, and that's something you'll be able to see down the road. So what they've recommended in their instructions is get a piece of masking tape, lay that over the vinyl, and then use that to peel the vinyl up. And that gives you a nice clean pick. So when we get ready to do this part, it's going to be very important to take the soap solution and use plenty of it. Get that thing soaking wet. I mean, you want water running off of that. And you want this to be like applying a wet noodle to your car. And so we're going to take the sticky side of the letter, get it nice and wet. You can't use too much water and soap. It's going to be okay. And so what we're going to do is place this letter right in that area. Okay. You can see it just wants to move around, and that's okay. We want to be able to move this around. And so you want to carefully remove the masking tape from your letter. And it's good this came with two eyes, because this way you can practice with it and get used to this whole way this works. I'm going to try to hold that down. Okay. Now, as you can see, we've got a little bit of a window of time in which to make sure that thing's nice and straight in there. And you can see that it fits pretty tightly. So now, once you get it where you want it, use a clean towel, kind of work it a little bit. And if there's any bubbles in there, just work them out like that with the towel. There. And that's the first letter. Now, if I go in there and touch it, it's still going to move around, but as it dries, it's going to set. Having gotten some good practice in on that one, we'll get started on the M. That's a little more challenging because it's a complex shape. Get that nice and wet. We're going to come down here, and on this, I'm going to start the pull right there at the edge of the M, being very careful to just work it around without stretching it or allowing that vinyl to stick back on itself. Very careful. Okay, and as you can see now, that is the sticky side. Woo. Let me get it wet, nice and wet. Okay, now, just like the eye, I can lay it in there and get it into the right place carefully. Yeah. I'm going to blot it just a little bit. And come over here and make sure to pull this away, not up and from, because that you don't want to stretch your vinyl. That's really the biggest thing you want to avoid. All right, it's already starting to stick a little bit. But the whole point of all of this soap and water is to allow you to have the time to really get these on, because you don't want to have crooked letters. That's the first thing people will notice when you go, hey, look at my letters I put on here. Aren't these great? And there's always that friend that goes, oh, you got one crooked. So don't do that. You got plenty of time to get these just right. Now we're down to the last letter, which is the K, and through this process I've actually picked up a couple of little tricks to help make this a little bit easier. My masking tape that I'm using tends to be a little stickier than I like when it comes to trying to peel it off this wet letter. The other thing that I've really learned is make sure you attach that to a big fat piece of the vinyl rather than one of the thinner parts, especially on something like this K, because you don't want to be stretching any of this, and if you do, you certainly don't want to be stretching one of the small areas. And of course you have to be very careful pulling this off nice and slow, and be careful not to let that stick back on itself when you're working with it. And the other thing I've picked up on here is use that towel to sort of dab at it rather than use any kind of a motion that might stretch it. And what that's doing is it's pushing the moisture out from underneath the letter while absorbing it at the same time when it's coming out from the edges, because you want it to have a pretty good grip before you start getting ready to peel this off. Now what I've done here is I've got a little bit of extra. Another thing I learned is don't clip your fingernails the day before you do this. It's nice to have some fingernails to work with. Okay, so I'm trying to really hold on to that vinyl while I pull that off so I don't stretch it. And now it's starting to get a little stickier. Now that all the letters are on, I'm going to go back in here and sort of do a little finger test on these and see if they're tight. Just in the 15 to 20 minutes it's taken me to get across this tailgate, most of these have set up pretty good, but I'm just making sure I don't have any ripples or bubbles in here that need to be taken out, especially at the edges. You want to make sure all of your edges are laying nice and flat. And go from the fat end down to the skinny end, and just did the K, so it's still a little loose. And dab it a little more. The instructions, of course, give you complete background on how long to let this go before you wash it or do anything like that. If you have a sunny day, go out and park it in the sun and let it dry like that. Don't scrub it, don't wash it, just leave it alone for as long as you can before you go and actually try to take this to a car wash or power wash or do anything like that. You want to give it at least a few days. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the results, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how these letters are going to look with a larger package that we're going to be doing next. Really kind of excited about that, doing the unveil as well as doing a how-to on doing a more comprehensive graphics package with vinyl. But that said, the letters, that's something everyone can do inexpensively, and you can get factory looking results pretty quickly and with the household supplies. It's just not that hard. I recommend anybody try it, and if you screw it up, peel them off. It's that simple. Be willing to try and have some fun with it. Worst case, you just take it off and start over or have somebody else do it, but at least you tried. Now, if you like our Maverick content, we've got a lot of how-to articles right here on TestDrivenTV Garage, as well as our other channel, TestDrivenTV, test drives, things like that. You can see our entire playlist right there. Better yet, subscribe to TDTV Garage right there, where we keep you informed on everything we do. Either way, stay tuned.